go. You made it this far. King Kelly, dead. Theater Kelly, dead. Even a little smart nerd Kelly. He's good enough is dead. The only thing that stands in my way is me and Fluenderis. As Tearlaman and Shizu, my latest puppy runs the format. As for you, I don't know if I like you. It all depends on this one question and how you answer it. How's Kumara doing? What's going on with y'all, big dog? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that your day, phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. Speaking of days, I actually had a ton of fun talking to everyone at YCS Pasadena. I got to meet some of my favorite content creators. I got to meet some of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh people, and even more importantly, I got to see you guys. I got to sign a lot of stuff, and I also got to take a ton of pictures. If you guys still have those pictures, be sure to post them on Twitter, and be sure to tag me, TheCaliEffect King of Games. I think I'm Mr. CaliEffect in the Damage Steppers right now. Your boy stepping. And I will be sure to see you at the next Las Vegas Regionals in December. And if not, I will catch you at the Las Vegas YCS. But now we got to actually get into talking about this format that may not feel really enticing for a player that's getting into the game, because it seems like it's going to be a tier limit Ishizu format, just going by the analytics. Now, I will go into those analytics in just a second, but one thing I do want to say is that I would like to break this down into like a theoretical sandwich. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and then the good again, if there's some good available. From YCS Pasadena, I did learn a lot, and I think I became a way better player because of it, and I want to be able to share that information with you and also get you up to speed, get you prepared for everything you might see into this format. Let's go ahead and talk about the statistics. I really want to say that there's some good things. There's multiple events that happened over the weekend, but there's also some bad things. Mad shout out to Septo for providing analytics on this, but as you guys can see, it's not looking really good right now, with 71% of the entire weekend dominated by Tearlament, and those dominated by Tearlament Ishizu. The Ishizu cards put the Tearlament strategy over the top, and it's not because of their effects to send from the deck to the graveyard, in my opinion. It's actually the real MVPs in Keldo and the Medora being able to shuffle cards into the graveyard back into the deck as quick effects. And the reason why I think that this is so powerful is because it gives the player the ability to manipulate the graveyard at any time that they want to. If a Tearlament monster activates in your opponent's graveyard, well, you can shuffle it back. If a Bestial monster activates to banish one of your important cards, well, not only can you deny your opponent from summoning the Bestial monster, you can shuffle it back into your deck for later reuse. You can also cycle extra deck cards like Abyss Dweller to be able to lock your opponent out for later turns, something that we did see at the YCS's final. It's just really important to be able to get these cards into your graveyard to be able to control the game. In my experience, this also creates a situation where if you're playing a graveyard reliant deck, your opponent can essentially manipulate the cards in your graveyard unless you have a way to stop them. This actually brings up an interesting question that we got going on right here. It's why the f would I want to play a graveyard deck now? Now, I do think that there are some awesome cards to help combat the Tearlament and Ishizu strategy. Some of them were actually played inside of the top decks. So let's do this meta analysis a little different and start looking at the top decks and then work our way to the bottom. First and second place were Hani and Jesse Cotton with Tearlament Ishizu, and we're going to be going over both builds if they do have their separate decks and also some really cool interactions with the opponent. Looking at Jesse Cotton's build provided to you guys by Carlancho Store, I don't think that this is a finished product, as most of the tier limit deck lists that we've looked at throughout the top 32 are almost different. One thing I do want to point out is that both Yugioh and Kelbeck aren't necessarily mandatory, but to help reinforce what I said earlier, almost every Ishizu deck played Keldo and Madura to be able to shuffle in those cards back into the deck, whether it was being able to get those vital resources back into your deck or disrupt your opponent. But one thing I do want to point out by Jesse Cotton as a super secret spicy card is Wolo, the Drudge card. What is this card name again? Okay, its name is Wolo, founder of the Drudge Dragons. That is a ridiculously dumb name. But Wolo is an excellent card because it helps you disrupt your opponent's graveyard by being able to either special summon or set the card to your side of the field or shuffle it into the deck. I think that was an amazing heads up play, especially if you use Dark the Dark Charmer to special summon your opponent's Bestial Magnamut, then follow it up with your own Bestial monster. You are plussing so hard. You're going to get up to 3 disruptions, one from the Wolo, one from the Bestial Druid's Worm that you're probably going to add. Druid's Worm can then send a card, and then Dark the Dark Charmer will still be able to get you a Dark Surge. Moving on to first place Hani Jirari's build, there's only one Yugioh in the main board, and I don't think that's because he couldn't find it. I personally think that Yugioh is the worst of the Ishizu cards, with Kelbeck having a great hand effect to be able to disrupt the opponent, and the Keldo and Madura being excellent disruptor cards. Yugioh just sends the deck to graveyard. Its other effect is, it's alright. I personally think that this version of Ishizu tier limit is the version that we're going to see a little bit more, but keep in mind, since Magnificent Mavens did just drop a couple of days ago, there may be some changes or maybe even some new cards that are introduced to help us combat tier limit. And speaking of combating tier limit, there's actually some decks that did a really good job. Vincent Wong's Sprite deck seems to be built to beat the Ishizu tier limit matchup. With 8 Bestial monsters in the main deck, there is going to be no light and dark monsters that are going to activate their effects without getting banished. But one tech card I really want to talk about is Skullmeister. Now, Skullmeister is actually an insane Yu-Gi-Oh card, and it has a differential between the Bestial monsters DD Crow and Ghost Bell. Skullmeister can stop the effects of cards activated in the graveyard, meaning that it can not only stop the tier limit monsters and the Ishizu cards being activated, it also can stop the tier limit spell and trap cards, as well as Nimble Angler from being sent to the graveyard. On top of that, Skullmeister is a card that can be activated multiple times in one turn, and in case you're ever in a bind, he got 1700 attack. Let that sink in, your boy is kind of strong. Sprite may revert back to playing more hand traps to stop the tier limit matchup. Just how Fluendereese is going through a change, this particular deck piloted by Griffin Gamrat is a lot different from what we've seen at a normal Fluendereese player. It's playing the Dogmatica package. The Dear Servant, Dogmatica Glacia, and Dogmatica Punishment will probably never conflict with Fluendereese, saying that you're very seldomly going to special summon, and Fluendereese Impin can actually normal summon Dogmatica Glacia at the end step. There's also DD Crow to be able to stop that graveyard effect. We're not on Bestials because we can't special summon. And in the sideboard, holy! Harpy's Featherstorm completely shuts down a tier limit player's turn, evenly matched to be able to address that going second, and Different Dimension Ground in case you thought you were getting your Ishizu cards off. Now, currently the theme says to either pack those cards to be able to beat your graveyard effects, or play a deck that doesn't need its graveyard so you can main Dimensional Shifter. Take, for example, Jose Alzamora's Exo Stepsister deck profile. Look, dog, this deck, if it's getting in the dryer, is getting in the dryer. Like any Exo Sister deck, it's going to be playing Dimensional Shifter inside of the main board. The problem with Dimensional Shifter, though, is that it could be easily countered not only with Psyframe Gear Gamma, which we did see in the side deck every so often, there was also Herald of Orange Light, which was being played in the main deck. What those cards can't counter is a Dimensional Fissure inside of the main board, which is essentially a game-ending Yu-Gi-Oh card. Also, with the deck that I played at the event, one thing that was incredibly powerful against the Ishizu tier limit was Necro Valley. They had no idea how to operate under it. You could literally not even make a board. Necro Valley itself was a game-ending card against the Ishizu tier limit deck. So while it does seem like one of the worst times to play Yu-Gi-Oh right now, and I wouldn't even hold you if you decided to not play Yu-Gi-Oh for this format, it does feel like there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are a lot of cards being discovered, such as Skullmeister, and cards that are being played, such as Dimensional Shifter and Dimensional Fissure, that are really good against the Shizu Tearlament. You also have to keep in mind that the Shizu Tearlament strategy was fairly new. I think that players weren't prepared against the strategy, and players thought that maybe there was going to be a lot less Shizu Tearlament players because the set coming out so late. But as we dive deeper into the format, I'm pretty optimistic that things will change, and if not, I'm already diving deep into a counter guide on how to beat a Shizu Tearlament. I really hope that it'll help you guys along your journey. Until then, go ahead and check out these videos, as they are some awesome videos, and if you want to see more exclusive content, be sure to check out my Patreon, as it's a special thanks for helping me pay my editors. I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and be sure to click on the next one so I can catch you on the next video.